Welcome back to the 90% Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Tyler Matthews. This is episode 8. We have a special guest joining us today, Trey Collins. Trey is multifaceted. He's doing a lot with his life, so we're going to hear about that. And we also have our camera/media man, Zach, joining us today. So it's our first episode with 3 people. How you guys doing today?
Good, bro. Excited to be here.
Fantastic.
Let's get it. This should be a fun one. So we'll talk a little bit about Trey, learn about him, and then we might dive into similarities, differences, things like that between basketball and soccer. So Trey, let's start off. This is a broad question, but just tell us about Trey Collins.
Oh, okay. So I play soccer. Most of my life I'm really grateful for is built around the game of football. I'm training people, training teams.
Football, you mean soccer, right?
Football, I mean soccer.
You got to interpret for the.
Right. Yeah. Football meaning soccer. But yeah, I'm 31. I was born and raised in Melbourne Beach. And yeah, I run GBED as a training business and apparel business. And then a second more recent project is a club, soccer club, Harbor City FC, which
Zach's repping.
Yeah, which is about to start year 2. So I'm pretty excited.
Let's go. So you guys are about to start season 2?
Yeah, we're in preseason right now. Our first match is next Saturday, March 18th. At Palm Bay High Stadium. So. And
is it it's a professional or semi-pro team?
Right now we're semi-pro. Right now we're technically in the 4th division. But the goal is to, in the next couple of years, take it to full pro. So
absolutely.
We'll see where it goes, man.
And you're a player and the owner of the team?
Yeah, it's definitely a unique position. Yeah, owner, and then I have a coach hired, and then I'm a player, so.
Sweet.
Day to day, working behind the scenes, trying to get everything set, but really on match day, trying to, attempting to kind of unplug that side and just be a player for the team is like where I want to be. So it's been a good test, like just from a headspace perspective, to like try to challenge myself in that way. There's a ton of things going on a game day, even let's say, like tasks that need to get done on a game day, and then it's like, all right, I'm in the warm up, I'm trying to play, I need to try to think about that headspace, and just I don't know.
No, but that's mental right there. We call this the 90% Podcast because we say the game of basketball and the game of life is 90% mental. Okay. I love that right there because that's you. A lot of that is mental, right? You can physically do the tasks and play the game, but mentally it's draining, I bet, right? And having the energy to do both is really tough.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's definitely like, I think so much about like practice and training. I mean, there's the technical side. We get into this more later. There's the technical side of like skills, like with the hands, with the feet, that kind of thing. But like the part that I think not a lot of people talk about as much because they don't want to admit that they played unconfidently is like the self-talk game. Like, are you aware of your self-talk, or is the environment just like dictating where your head goes?
Yep.
And so instead of like just being like, surrendering to what people are saying to you in the environment, can you realize like when your headspace goes somewhere that you don't want it, and then try to have strategies like to correct it in the moment there? And I think like that's where a lot of like my training base is, even though like I'm using soccer kind of as a thing, like a lot of the conversations that I'm trying to have are more about, are you actually aware of what you're saying to yourself? Or are you not, So,
there you go, ladies and gentlemen. now you know why we brought Trey on the 90% Podcast. No, hey, I love it. Seriously, I love that thinking and that mindset. Yeah. And you're also a coach, right, or a trainer. Yeah. So I'm sure you instill that mindset into your athletes, right?
I try to. I try to lead by example. And, like, to be honest, I try to be clear that, like, I don't have all the answers. Like, I don't have it figured out. I'm trying to get better at this, right? But I think, like, almost – a lot of times that if someone's in a coach role, and even with good intentions, they're trying to be a leader, they want to act like they have everything figured out.
Yeah.
And like me personally is more like, no, I want to be able to go like, hey, this is my best, like this is my take on this, right? But like I'm not saying it's 100% right. Yeah. But like, could we develop a relationship where we could even like player, coach, or teammate, like where we could disagree on something and still kind of move forward, versus being like, you're like, if we're playing basketball and we're trying to score, right? There's gonna be times where like you go for the dunk and miss, where you could have like played it to me and I could just laid it in. And like if we both want to score, there's gonna be times we're gonna disagree on that.
Yeah.
So being like, yo, okay, like, hey, we're working together. Even in the moment, like we could even be like, yo, you should have passed it. But like being able to move forward past
exactly.
that, right?
Yeah.
That's like, I don't know.
But for the record, I'm not gonna be going for any dunks, guys. I can't.
Neither am I.
Not anytime soon. But no. What's that?
You're the dunk master.
I am the dunk master behind scenes.
When these go to 9 feet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or when the floor raises. Either one. Yeah. But hey, no, you said something there that I love and that I want to touch on, which is I call it vertical versus horizontal relationships. Right.
Okay.
You said just admitting to your players that you don't necessarily know everything, right, and that you're willing to learn.
Yeah.
And I think what that does is it makes it more of a horizontal relationship instead of like coach up here and then players down here. I'm going to teach you guys. When they kind of understand, like, oh, he admits to us like he's learning, but he's teaching us what he learns, and then he's valuing our feedback as players, so he can learn as a coach. And I think me and you have that, Zach, within this business, right? Like I tell you all the time, I value your feedback. I might be the owner of Fast Phenom, but I want to hear what you think, and I might agree, I might disagree, like you said, but we're going to keep moving forward with that relationship. Right. So I think that's huge, and I love that you brought that up. I think we're all on the same page here.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I think there's so much about like you said about like being on the same level, and that's like I never like as a coach want to be distant from the feeling of what it's like to play unconfidently. You know, like the second that like you think like. You're trying to tell yourself that you've never played unconfident. Like that would, I'm not going to say absolutely, but that's probably a lie. You know what I'm saying? Like there's probably sometime you went to a tryout and you played scared.
Exactly.
And you were thinking either internally like I'm a bad player, or like you didn't want to admit to someone that you were scared, but like if you really thought about it, you were like, yo, that's not the best version of me as a player.
Yeah.
Versus like you go play a pickup game and you're balling when there's no environment and there's nothing on the line. You're like, okay, wait. I'm the same person as that. But I got to try to be able to, at least anecdotally for myself, I got to try to be able to get that performance level and that fluidity of my skill when there is something on the line. Like when it does matter. When if you blow it, somebody might say, hey, you suck, or you lose the game, right? Because I guess if we're serious about wanting to be like competitive athletes, you have to train for when there is something on the line, right? Like there are guys who are good pickup players and just can't ever get it in the big game. So, I don't know, like, for me, at least, it's like, okay, I would play these pickup games, and then this was more in college, but I'd play these pickup games, and then I'd play for the coach that didn't have a lot of confidence in me, I could tell. And some of it was my own ego, probably, myself, like thinking I was better than I was, whatever. But I would go play there in college, and I'd be like, dude, I'm playing, like, scared. I wouldn't want to go for, like, the riskier pass. I'd just keep a safe pass, you know? And I'm like, oh, okay, wait, I gotta figure out how to get my headspace closer to the pickup version when I was just balling like that. And so that's been kind of like, I don't know, I guess we're kind of jumping forward, but that's kind of been my journey there of like going, how do I get to that more relaxed, calm, fluid state when it does matter?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No,
right.
for sure, because I think players can get into it in a workout, right? A lot easier. They got the music going, or in a pickup game, but then that's not when it matters, right? And so I guess this is the $1 million question. How have you seen players transition from being able to get into a flow state during workouts and maybe struggling with it in game to actually being able to make that transfer?
Yeah, I love that you said flow states. I mean, this is so much about where like the target is. And the target meaning the ideal headspace. And this is something that I've listened to podcasts in the last like 6-7 years, like a ton. There's this one podcast called the Surf Mastery Podcast. It's not even big. This guy, I think his name's Michael. I can't remember his last name, but he is super interested in the psychological side of things, and he brings all these people on that talk about like surfing and the idea of are you tuned into when you're not calm, or are you tuned into when you are calm? Like if you're about to shoot a free throw, like, are you hyped? Like, are you like tight, or are you not? And if you can start recognizing that tension some, then you can start to like feel it in the moment a little bit there. So,
Facts.
I don't know.
No. I think that's huge right
free
there.
throw is an interesting one. There's not really free throws in soccer, maybe a PK, but what do you think about on a free throw? Like when you're at the free throw, like a big free throw, like what's going through your head?
Well, a lot of players are thinking, am I going to miss this, right? And when you think, let me not say a lot of players, right? Because a lot of players are high-level players if we're talking like that, right? And they're thinking, I need to make this shot, or they're not really even thinking. They're just getting on the line and it's just another free throw, right? But I think the players that we're talking about, the ones that are maybe struggling with confidence, are probably getting up to that line thinking, man, if I miss this, coach might take me out, or my dad's going to be like, why'd you miss your free throw, or whatever the case may be with that. So I think getting out of your head is part of it too. I think as much as you're saying be aware of it. I think there's definitely times for that, and you need to. But I think when you're in that flow state,
you're not thinking.
You're not thinking. Yeah, you're just letting it ride, and that's when the game is fun. Like,
right.
we've all played sports or have moments where you're just in that state, even with work maybe, and once you get into it, you just want to ride and let it keep going.
Right. Yeah. Dude, it's so much. It's like, at least for me, it was. Actually, I remember this one guy I listened to, and he was talking about this idea. He was like, think of your brain like you have, like, whatever, 100 units, I think is how he described it. And if I'm thinking about, like, you're my coach, or like you're a fan, and some of my attention is devoted on what you're thinking of me, like, I'm not using the potential of who I could be, right? And so that is imminent if you're my coach, even if we have a great relationship, right? Like, you're my coach, you're going to be picking the lineup.
Yeah.
So it's imminent. So, but just noticing, and this is personally, noticing when I was focusing on that versus like focusing on the feeling of the ball in my foot, right? Or like something conscious, or like my breath, my nose breath, like being able to use those cues to kind of get you hopefully out of that like really sympathetic, like hyped up nervous system and more into like parasympathetic, like relaxing. But yeah, I don't know. I think like circling back to where I was originally thinking when you said flow states, there was this Dr. Michael Gervais. He has a podcast called Finding Mastery, and he was talking about this one part of the brain called the amygdala. And he's like, when they can like they've had some studies where they've analyzed flow states and like been able to see what parts of the brain were kind of activated. They don't necessarily know the relationship of them exactly, but in these flow states, the amygdala is not active. So that's like the fear center, the like, what are people thinking about me, or like, I'm scared kind of thing. And then there's also times where they would do surveys of it, and the amygdala would be active for people. So it's like, just hearing almost like a biological side of it is like, okay, wait, I almost need to have that part of my brain off when I'm in competition. I can't be over evaluating things, right?
Yeah.
And again, just like talking about that, I think can change things for players.
No, for sure. 100%.
I never thought about this at all when I was younger.
Exactly. And if a kid can realize it when they're, let's say, just mature enough to realize what we're talking about, 10 years old, whatever it is, then they can get better at it, right? And get better at tapping into that flow state, I think. Every year, maybe they're only able to consciously feel themselves get into it once or twice. Then the next year, 2 or 3 or 5 times, then 20 times. And then next thing you know, maybe not every single day, because I think even the best players, like the Kobes and guys like that, they're not getting into it every single time.
I had a bad session last week that you know what I'm saying? Like, where I didn't play well.
Yeah.
And I don't know,
and how did you feel? Like, what were your kind of thoughts after that, after you're not playing well?
That's interesting. This was last week at training. And I had like, where my brain went initially in the moment, I hit the post like a bunch of times, and I didn't feel like my effort wasn't there, but like the end result wasn't there. And I just remember afterwards, like, okay, well, I had a long day. I've been on the field for like 4 hours, and I was like, wait, like this is, that's more me just trying to justify, like, why, and maybe there's some validity to that. I did have a long day, but I was thinking about it, and I was more like, no, like, I like that this is happening, because this brings me closer to that experience of people that I'm training. Like, I had a bad day and I wasn't in a great headspace, you know what I mean? And instead of going and acting like, since I'm a coach or a trainer, like I got it figured out, I do it 100 out of 100 times. It's like, okay, this wasn't a good performance, but I can try to control my next effort, my next performance the next day. That doesn't necessarily mean the ball is going to go in the goal.
No, for sure, exactly.
But like, I can control my conscious effort on the next play.
Yes.
And then hopefully that player observes on the rawest level, even me go ball out the next 2 days. So, yeah, we were talking about I had a bad session the other day.
Yeah.
And you were about to like riff on something. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and you thought about it. So pretty much where I was going to go with that is you were talking about the outcome, right? Instead of maybe the process. So what I was getting from that is the outcome was that you had a bad day, right? The outcome is the outcome, right? It's just going to happen. The example I like to tell my players is if we think about everything as good and bad, because that's how a lot of people like to think of things, even though I think those are two of the most maybe overused words ever, right? Good rep, no, that's bad, right? But good and bad. If we think of everything as good and bad, and maybe we throw in average, right? Yeah. Good, average, bad, we can assume that a third of our days are going to be good, a third of them are going to be average, and a third of them are going to be bad, right?
Okay.
And so that's the outcome's going to be the outcome, right? As you get better, a third of them are going to be good, a third of them are going to be average, a third of them are going to be bad. But I think the process of when you have a bad day, why was it bad, right? Was I not fully focused? Was I not aware and present during my practice? Was I thinking about my homework or my relationship or X, Y, and Z? Maybe that's why I had a bad day. And then I take mental notes on that. Yeah. Oh, I had a good day? Oh, I was locked in. Everything the coach was saying, we were making eye contact. I was feeling good. I did this drill good, and it led to more momentum. So maybe me starting good is what I need to start. And you start to figure out these puzzle pieces. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm hearing is the process.
Okay. What do you think?
Well, just saying that you go back to your think of the outcome versus the process. There's this psychiatrist that I watch online, Dr. K, and he primarily deals with video game people, things like that, like the issues that they face. Anyways, he said something that you can't really control the outcomes, but you can control the process.
Yeah, right.
So you can't actually score a basketball, but what you can do is you can have correct form. You can have reps. You can have the mentality, but you can't actually score or you can't win a game. But you can do all you can do is just whatever the next step is in the process. And if you can control those things, then the outcome is just the outcome.
Right.
Beautiful.
Something Michael Gervais says too, a psychologist that I listen to a lot, is ultimately you can't be defined you don't want to be defined by the outcome. Even that day, right? I had an off day, I hit the post a lot, but there is an element of randomness to that. So it's this paradox of after the session, I have like you were talking about, it would be intelligent to be thinking, okay, what did I do good? What did I do bad? Let me draw from it. But ultimately, at least for me, so much of it is just being able to move on to the next thing. Whether it was good, it was bad. Try to learn from it if it was bad, but then almost be able to I always talk to my players about B. Dory from Finding Nemo, who just keep swimming next play, next play. So if literally the only tattoo I have is this, but that's basically to myself. It's like my coach basically, just next play.
What is that tattoo?
Next basically. That's all it means to be. Next play.
Nice.
And so
that's the only tattoo on your body?
Yeah, only
that's
one.
That's a cool one.
Only
I like
one.
it.
But yeah, I kind of realized wait, okay, I think and you don't need a tattoo. This could be something that's built in your head completely. But it's I got to be able to move on to the next play in the moment. In that 90 minutes, in the game, I can't be thinking too much. Right? I got to just be turned off. After the game, I can try to learn from it and try to move on from it. But ultimately, in that game, I got to realize I'm going to play the next play better if I'm present in that play. Even if I just miss 10 in a row. All I can do is control my next play effort, next play effort, next play effort, next play effort. And once I started thinking about, okay, what I control is my effort. Once I was you know what? If it is about, where a lot of people get caught up about perception of people around them, they're in that headspace the entire time they're playing, what my coach thinking, it's the one thing I don't want them to they're going to think that I worked my ass off in this session or in this game, physically. And when I started focusing on that being what I could consciously control, I played better.
Facts.
I scored more
100%.
goals and stuff, and I was just okay, wait. That is a controllable thing.
Yeah.
I hit the post, I missed. Okay, I didn't try to hit the post or missed. I can control my effort on the next play.
Bingo. And I love that because what I'm hearing there's every basketball player misses shots, right?
Yeah.
They all miss more than half of the shots they take in the game.
Most of your shots,
most of the shots,
true.
right?
50% is a great ratio.
Yeah, you would be a great shooter if you're shooting 50%, right? The best shooters in the world are getting paid millions for 30 and 40%, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And same with baseball with batting averages, right? They get paid to strike out.
If you're
right?
batting 500, that would be insane.
That would be insane, exactly. So, what you said is just huge. The outcome's going to be the outcome. Be known for how you go about the day to day and the process. Of, okay, whether I'm missing shots or making them, every rep is going to be hard, right? I'm doing the proper footwork. I'm focused. If my coach is critiquing me, I'm listening to that. Little stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I think too. Another part, at least personally, anecdotally, was it was that effort base as what I can control, and then also the physical side of things, being fit. It's okay, that's more of that's less. I mean, it is a skill to keep consistency and be disciplined, but it's less of an intense skill doing a sick finger roll or work with the ball. It's more of I can try to check the box here.
Yeah.
So I can come into preseason fit. You know what I'm saying? I can be one of the fittest guys because that has less to do with my actual soccer skill in a certain sense. Do you get what I mean?
No, 100%.
Regardless of sport, we could be training together in the off season to get to a certain level of fitness.
Exactly.
That would, I don't want to say check the box, but check the box there. The coach isn't going to pick me because I'm not fit.
Yep. No,
right?
and you talk about confidence. That's a huge confidence booster. You know what I mean?
Sure.
a lot of players and parents that come to me and one of the first things they say is my kid struggles with confidence, right? He has the skills, but he's not confident.
Right.
And then a lot of times will ask them, how fast can your son run a mile?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, we've never checked. And then when I check with the kid, he's running a 10-minute mile. You're not in shape. How can you expect to be confident?
Right.
This kid is way faster than you in the short distance and in the long distance. How are you going to be confident? You got to work on these things.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's not going to be an overnight thing, but if we get the kid to buy into it, then...
Dude, I love that. And it's funny that you say that, and I haven't thought about this in a while, but when I'm initially training someone, especially if they fill out from my website, I have like a box that's just, what do you want from the training?
Yeah.
Just to kind of see what people get, you know? And like you said,
all of them are putting confidence, right?
Yeah, I want my kid to play more confidently. And it's interesting because you can't just like give somebody confidence. I don't play lacrosse. If I jumped into a lacrosse game right now, like my stick skills aren't good enough, me being confident, I'd be like lying to myself in a certain sense. There's no way.
I will argue that a little bit because I've had this conversation with trainers all around the country. And I say that too. I say we can't give them confidence. They have to earn the confidence, right?
Yeah.
Self-confidence, self-esteem comes from doing the work yourself, right?
Yeah.
But I do think where trainers do play a part is that we can inspire and instill
I couldn't agree more.
a belief that they maybe didn't see in themselves. Like even me, I have business mentors that see more in me sometimes than I see in myself. And I'm like, how is he believing in me and I don't believe in this yet?
Have you guys ever heard the expression of seeing the forest instead of seeing the trees?
That's what it is. Bingo.
You know, sometimes if you're in the forest,
all you're gonna see is the tree.
You don't have the perspective. You need someone who's kind of outside of yourself to kind of give you that more objective look at things.
Bingo.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. I think one of the things like that we were talking about, like even this conversation, right? I find that like the first session that I have with a player, if it's just like a private session that's a smaller group, 1 to whatever 5, 6 people, I'll talk about the idea of like, hey, your self-talk. Are you aware of it? Are you not? Or even a lot of times I'll frame it in this way. Have you ever had a time where you felt like you played unconfidently? And I can tell, like, sometimes with a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 17-year-old, they've never had this conversation before.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to admit to their parents that they don't have it figured out.
Yep.
I don't blame them. They don't want to admit to their coach that's picking them for the game they don't have it figured out. So it's just internalized conversation. And it's like, I'm like, okay, look, like, my goal as a trainer is for you to get better as a player and be able to go into environments where you used to feel unconfident and be confident in yourself. And so by talking about the self-talk and then hopefully developing a relationship where when the player is evaluating you on the rawest level for your basketball skills or the rawest level for my soccer skills, they're actually inspired and they're actually like, yo, this, like, he's put in work on this. It's not an overnight thing. And then the combination of like, all right, I really got to grind on the technical side of things, but thinking about confidence versus unconfidence right there.
Yeah.
I think it can change the game.
No, it can.
Dude, I remember some kids now that are like 18 that we were talking about Dory when they were 10 now, which makes me feel old. But like, we were talking about, hey, you just got to be Dory in the moment, right? And then like, this kid is a senior now in high school, and he said like,
he's getting a Dory tattoo.
He said something, I don't even remember what it was, but he said like, he's like, yeah, Dory, dude. And I was like, yes, like
that's what's up.
That's the goal of the mindset I want to be. I'm not even gonna act like I'm there all the time, but that like I've had games that are like that, and you're like, oh, that's where you can really eat.
Heck yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, all this you're saying is reminding me of mindfulness training. Have you ever done that?
Yes.
Like all this boils down is what if anyone doesn't know what, you know what mindfulness and
that's what this podcast is partly about, talking about that.
But there's a specific kind of, it's almost kind of like meditation of what mindfulness is. It's a kind of a meditation where you take notice of what's happening kind of like with you and your body and your thoughts.
Yeah.
Basically, because you know, like what you said, sometimes people aren't noticing when these things happen.
Yeah.
And mindfulness training can kind of teach you to like notice things, but not also hold on to them and let them go.
Yes.
Because you're saying like of like Dory of just keep going.
Yeah.
In mindfulness training, they kind of talk about like you know, kind of laying down in a field and look at the blue sky. These clouds come by that might be these thoughts of, oh, my coach is going to yell at me, or like the fear of missing. And what you teaches you to do is to kind of just focus on the blue sky and let the clouds kind of just keep
the present moment.
Yeah.
Because the best play happens right in that present moment. I feel like
and I get what you're saying too, is like you're gonna be, the clouds are gonna keep moving.
They're gonna keep going.
They're gonna keep going no matter what.
If you notice, like if you ever stub your toe or something like that, you feel the pain, but what happens in 30 seconds or sometime later? It goes away. Like it enters your mind and it also leaves.
Remembering that this feeling has gone away before and it's not permanent.
So sometimes it's not about, like, you can't like necessarily fight
Oh
it.
man, I love this. Hey fellas, I hate to do this, but the camera that we use today only has a 30-minute timer. We're on 25 right now, so I gotta start wrapping this up a little bit. But we are definitely doing a part 2.
I got
100%.
I got
this
one
has
comment,
been value.
One comment to make on that is all this stuff we're talking about. It is easy to say. It's actually hard to do when there's something on the line.
Yeah.
Right. And that, like, ultimately, if you're an athlete that want to be serious, you got to be able to think about and work on these principles, but you got to be able to ball out on game day. Right. So but I think having the conversation could make such a difference. Personally, listening to podcasts, people talk about this stuff. Guys in the Premier League or guys in the NBA talking about this sort of thing, where I was like, I'm like, yo, he's talking about this, not having the view as a little kid that, like, man, he's got everything figured out. It's like, no, man, like, I've had some of the best games of my life, and then at 24 and at 27, I played a game that I played scared on. And I didn't even realize it in the moment. And then I finished the game and was like, oh man, okay, that's weird, because I'm 3 years older. Right? Like, the path isn't just like this. Right?
No,
like
for sure, yeah.
And with a trainer that, like you, that people can talk to about it, that's where it changes it. Someone who could be like, hey, I wasn't confident. Or, hey, Tyler, I balled out that game. And be like, hey, what'd you feel like? Yeah. Just that little bit of dialogue.
No, for sure. I love it. We're definitely doing a part 2.
Yeah.
I know this obviously 25 minutes, 27 minutes went by crazy fast. I do want to kind of just touch on you. You're an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
obviously.
sure.
Are you actively looking or taking, I should say, clients for soccer training right now, or no?
Yeah, so I have, my schedule is pretty wild, like pretty crazy right now, but I do have some small group trainings that people can join in privately.
So if you're in Brevard County and you know any soccer players that are looking for training, Trey is the best, if not one of the best, he's the best in Brevard County with taking your skills and, like we talked about, mindset to the next level with the soccer training. And then you also run GBED clothing, right? And apparel. So if people have apparel needs, they can hit you up, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, GBED side, which was really developed through the training, the mentality through it. But yeah, we work with different businesses and teams and organizations that honestly, like, support the mentality, support that, you know? And
they made this shirt and this one and that one.
Yeah, like, my main goal with that side of things is not to, like, sell people on the latest, like, vented arm sleeve that's going to make them 2.3% quicker on the court, you know? It's like, hey, yeah, we've put in, like, you know, years of just trying different shirts and stuff. We know I know what shirts feel nice and is good gear. And so, but, like, let's not have it be as much about that and be about, like, the mentality, these sort of things,
I love
you know?
it. Yep.
And then, yeah, you know, I mean, I work with a realtor in New York that, like, he really tries to, like, you know, talk about GBED to his team and stuff, as, you know, to Little League baseball teams. To
I think everybody's talking about or maybe not everybody, but I think a lot of people out there want to get better every day. So
it's
I
about
think
their
I think
craft.
and I think it's a message that can go to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a basketball player, soccer player, entrepreneur, what you're doing. I think it should be spread. So
it's about your craft, you know, like, it's about what you want to develop, your art, you know, and that's really where it is for me.
All right, fellas, any final thoughts, Trey, Zach?
I'm excited for round 2.
Exactly.
Let's get it. Yes, sir. This was a really good episode. What do you got, Zach?
I didn't have much to say, but I liked it.
Yes, sir. We'll definitely leave more time or have more time next time. We'll plan for like an hour or maybe even more. But I definitely appreciate both of you guys.
Yeah,
Zach, obviously, I appreciate you and all your help on the regular with the media and the podcast. And then Trey, I definitely appreciate your thoughts. I know me and you, I don't even know how we met. How do we meet? I think maybe Instagram. I might have DM'd you or something.
Nick's gym or
it
something.
might have been Nick's gym.
I don't know. I think it feel like it was before that. I don't even know, man.
Yeah, I think it was before Nick's gym. But
I think it was.
Either way, you've been a supporter of what we've done for, I think, our whole time here in Brevard County. So I definitely appreciate your support and just the conversations that we've had and you hooking us up with gear from time to time. Bro. So, and I definitely appreciate this podcast. This was very valuable. Any parents, players, coaches, trainers, people, humans, reach out to Trey. Trey, where can they find you?
Yeah, on Instagram is Trey Z. That's the only really social that I'm on. So
Trey Z on Instagram or get better every. Is it GBED?
Or GBED, yeah, or GBED.
Is it GBED.com?
GBED.life is my website, and then the Instagram is GBED.life. But
perfect. Hit them up for soccer training. apparel, and we're out. That's a wrap. Follow us on 90% Podcast and Fast Phenom Training, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all the above. Thank you guys for the support. We're out.